Starting today, the Trump administration plans to cut some federal funding to Planned Parenthood. Now, this could make it more difficult for people to get birth control, cancer screenings, and reproductive health care. The White House plans to withhold Title X funding, which helps provide affordable birth control and other sexual and reproductive health care to low-income Americans. President Trump did slash Title X funding during his first term. Planned Parenthood left the program before the former Biden administration reversed the decision. Now, this comes as U.S. Supreme Court justices will hear arguments tomorrow on Planned Parenthood in South Carolina. This involves a lawsuit against a 2018 executive order by Governor Henry McMaster to remove Planned Parenthood clinics from the state's Medicaid program because they offer abortions. The order deems those clinics as, quote, unqualified to provide family planning services. They offer abortion up to 6 weeks in compliance with the state law. But staff also provides birth control, emergency contraception, prenatal and postpartum exams, and STI testing and treatment, among other services. Joining us this morning, our chief legal analyst, Khalif Rhodes, is back with us. Okay, so this is going before the U.S. Supreme Court, nation's highest court, tomorrow. A lot of folks from South Carolina are headed up to be a part of this. Let's talk about the hurdles that are in front of them and then sort of the trickle-down effect nationwide if this does pass.
Jason, you're all over. This is not just South Carolina specific. I'm looking at the order that you mentioned right here.
Yeah.
This is Governor McMaster's executive order from 2018 that kind of sparked this whole thing. And now we find ourselves going to to North Carolina, to the United States Supreme Court. There will be other implications because Texas is also looking at the similar situated kind of event. And so whatever happens with this case, the court can go a couple of ways. The court can be narrowly tailored in their approach and say, look, we're only talking about South Carolina. We're only talking about Texas. This doesn't have a nationwide effect. Or they can be broad and say, address the issue of abortions, address the issue of Medicaid payments, address the issues of does a governor have the authority to stop, these folks from getting this type of funding. The court can go a number of ways. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure. And oftentimes that's what occurs. If you're talking about, the judicial branch having wide-reaching implications with the stops on the Trump administration's acts in the last couple of weeks, this is something similar that the Supreme Court chooses to do on their own. They can say, you know what, our order only addresses this case. So I'm watching to see which way they go, not just on the facts, but on how they leave and levy this against the whole country.
Because at the center of the lawsuit is the issue of whether Medicaid, if you have a list of providers, if you're someone that uses Medicaid and you're looking at a list of providers, they're looking that this case would remove some of these offices, some of these providers off of the list of Medicaid because they still perform abortions, even though that is the 6 weeks and under, that is still legal.
100%. And so that removing them is the part that's going to be the biggest part. That's the main issue. If they're not there, that means the folks that would need Medicaid to pay for that wouldn't have access because they wouldn't show up. It's like if you're looking at your list of providers, inpatient or out of network or in network, you're not able to say, well, this guy's out of my network. It's kind of similar to that in that situation. I mean, this is going to have large implications, and I cannot understate it. South Carolina, what they're doing in this case is not just related to there.
Who would this, if it is, I guess, approved with the U.S. Supreme Court, who would this affect the most? Is it the low-income families in rural areas near, I think it was maybe Charleston
and Columbia. Yep, those are the two locations.
Yeah.
And so I think you hit on it. First of all, you have low-income folks that are unable to pay for out-of-pocket costs that will be associated with the cost of any type of Planned Parenthood services. But then you also have the disproportionate impact of African Americans that go and utilize these type of services that have a higher mortality rate. And so in those situations, I think those are two buckets of people that would be disproportionately impacted. And they've listed that in their complaint. I mean, on the one side, if we're boiling it down to the major argument, we're saying, does Medicaid law clearly allow enrollees to enforce their rights to choose their own providers? The South Carolina is saying it absolutely doesn't. And if we're looking at precedent, if we're looking at what the courts have said before in the past, it has said, well, it does. As early as 2023, the Supreme Court has said, no, Medicare beneficiaries are, in similar situated cases, allowed to have their rights enforced. When we're looking at a nursing home, residents were able to bring a lawsuit over alleged abuse. So that's the only cases I could find that was kind of similarly situated where they're saying, hey, my Medicaid benefits are being stopped. I think that I have a right to have my case being brought to court. South Carolina is saying they don't even have an injury. In fact, this claim shouldn't even have made it this far. So the court will also have to address that as well.
All right. U.S. Supreme Court tomorrow is when this happens. We'll be seeing what the outcome of that decision is. Khalif, thank you very much. Appreciate that.